Hello and welcome, I'm Ananya Dutt and I'm back with another edition of Race to Power. Coming up in this broadcast, debate over reproductive rights is in political circles and American streets are rife yet again. With elections this November, we tell you who this debate is actually benefiting, Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Less than 12 hours to go for elections in India. If you are a voter this time, we have compiled everything you need to know. Stay tuned. Here on this show, we have been constantly discussing about Donald Trump's trial and the impact it will have on elections. Today, we will talk about the man in this image next to him. Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney, who had back in 2017 said that he would take a bullet for Donald Trump, he is now years later taking the stand against the Republican leader. The case in question here is the hush money trial, which began with the jury selection process on Monday. And Michael Cohen is slated to be the star witness for the prosecution. To give our viewers a quick recap of the case, the former US president has been charged with accusations of falsifying business records in order to allegedly cover up the hush money paid to a porn star, Stormy Daniels, to hide an affair with the leader that he had in the year 2006. This is where Michael Cohen comes in. Earlier known as Donald Trump's quote-unquote fixer, Cohen had paid the porn star Stormy Daniels $130,000 as hush money before the 2016 elections, which Trump went on to win. Through the years, Michael Cohen remained a close aide of Donald Trump and advised the leader on his 2016 presidential campaign. However, midway into Trump's presidency, Cohen turned on his boss when federal investigators came knocking and began investigating his role in the Daniels payments and other matters. In 2019, Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to a federal campaign finance law violating for paying Daniels and then testified in Congress that Trump told him to make the payment. He revealed that Trump reimbursed him in installments and displayed a copy of a $35,000 check from the former US president's personal bank account. Cohen has subsequently sentenced to 3 years in prison for the payment and other crimes, but not before he turned on the leader. Listen to what he had to say about Trump back in 2019.
I am ashamed because I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
Interestingly, this will not be Cohen's first time testifying in court against Trump. He also took the stand in a separate case concerning the former president's valuation of his real estate assets. The former aide said in October last year that he had manipulated the values of Trump's real estate properties to match whatever number Mr. Trump told him to. All eyes are now on the hush money trial to see how the courtroom drama pans out when a once confidant turned antagonist of Donald Trump's life takes a stand against his former boss. Staying with the United States now, abortion rights in the country continue to make headlines as the battle between pro-life and pro-choice groups heats up in the state of Arizona. A few days ago, we told you about a court ruling in Arizona that paved the way for the 1864 law to be implemented in the desert state. Now, the law brings a blanket ban on abortion, with the exception of cases where the mother's life is in danger. On Wednesday, Democrat leader in Arizona's House of Representatives tried several times to repeal the centuries-old law. However, they failed to do so without Republican support, which they needed to stop the Civil War-era measure from becoming a state law.
To the people of the state of Arizona, your choice.
I understand that we have deeply held beliefs, and I would ask everyone in this chamber to respect the fact that some of us believe that abortion is in fact the murder of children.
In 4 votes, the state chamber remained deadlocked 30-30 on a procedural motion that would have allowed a repeal bill to come to the floor. With 1 Republican vote had joined the 29 Democrats, and the left needed 1 more Republican vote to repeal the law, which is so old that it was written when Arizona was not even a state.
To the people of the state of Arizona, your choice is clear. If you believe that a 12-year-old who has been raped by her stepfather should be forced to give birth, vote for the Republican Party. If you believe that families and medical providers should make their own decisions about their futures, vote for Democrats. Period.
The Biden-led Democrats camp have said that they will try to get the law repealed again. As of now, the law takes effect in 60 days since the court order, which was passed on April 9th, which means Democrat lawmakers have time till June 9th to get the law repealed. While Democrats and Republicans butted heads over the state law, many people, including abortion activists and pro-life supporters, were gathered outside the Arizona state capitol, waiting on the verdict.
To repeal this abhorrent law.
I'm devastated is an understatement that in 2024, our Supreme Court here in Arizona would uphold a Civil War era ban from 1864. That's before women could vote. My ancestors were probably slaves at that point in time. It makes absolutely no sense, and it's out of step with what Arizona voters want.
And as far as today, we stand by the Supreme Court of Arizona. From what I understand of the law, from what I read, it only makes exceptions for the life of the mother, which we agree with, and it only talks about imprisoning abortionists, not the women, which we agree with. And so we're just here to show our support and be with fellow pro-lifers.
To clarify for our viewers, there is more than one hurdle that faces the Democrats. If in the coming few weeks the repeal passes in the House, Democrats also would need help in the Senate to pass the bill, which will effectively repeal the law. But the Republicans hold a 16-14 edge in the Senate as well, making it an uphill climb for their political rivals. Now, if at all else it fails, there is one last sword left in the armor for pro-choice supporters and the left-leaning voters of the state. Abortion activists say that they have exceeded the signature threshold to put a constitutional amendment on abortion on the state's ballot in the month of November. Once abortion is on the ballot alongside President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, it will then be up to the voters to decide whether or not an abortion ban will be implemented in the state. Now, to take this further, our correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live from New York. Susan, good to see you. We are here talking about abortion yet again, just 7 months before U.S. presidential elections. What is the latest you can tell us?
Well, you described it perfectly well with all the ebbs and flows that are going to come up because of Arizona's decision. But I do also want to say that this decision might also galvanize those that are anti-abortion and have worked for legislation like this for a very long time. Ultimately, the Democrats were looking to see that they will possibly take advantage of this decision and show themselves as champions of women's rights and reproductive rights, and to try to cast and paint the Republicans as being out of touch with a modern America. What's interesting to note is that President Trump also criticized this vote on the part of Alabama and said that, this is basically going very far, and that Arizona, that it's going very far, and basically we need to find a middle ground. But Arizona, went ahead and tried to do this. We're also hearing that people not only are afraid to get information from officials and doctors in their own state, and they're turning to places like social media, notably TikTok, to try to get answers, notably women, on what to do next.
That's some dangerous territory there. Thank you so much for joining us here on WION, Susan, and getting us all those updates. In less than 12 hours from now, India is going to polls. 7 phases spread across 6 weeks. We keep hearing that this is the biggest dance of democracy in the entire world. But how big is it actually? If you're watching us from India or abroad, you might want to know the answer.
The largest election in the world is here. 970 million voters in India are eligible this time. This is more than 7 other countries holding elections this year. Out of this 970 million voters, 18 million are first-time voters in their teens, and 197 million are in their 20s. But according to the Election Commission of India, nearly 38% of first-time voters have registered. Experts cite many reasons behind this low figure. First, young people don't feel well represented. They see seniors heading parties who are difficult to relate to. Second reason is that a lot of the first-time voters are staying away from homes, which means they have to return back home to make a voter ID card and then come back on the voting day, all of which needs a lot of paperwork and money. When it comes to gender of the voters, India has good news. Women voters have increased, election after election. This time the gender ratio is 948. This figure was 928 in the last election. It is being projected that India's women voters will surpass male voters from the year 2029. Let's come to logistics. There will be 15 million polling agents across 1 million polling stations, and 5.5 million voting machines have been installed this time. Now to the main objective, power. The fight is for the lower house of the parliament, which in India is known as the Lok Sabha. With 545 seats, the representatives are directly elected to the house. 2,600 parties are in the fray this time, across 543 constituencies. The elections have been spread out in 7 phases, with results finally being announced on 4th of June. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
As we said, it is election eve and preparations are in full swing across India. With the first phase of polls just hours away, here are some visuals from the ground in southern state of Tamil Nadu, which will be an interesting political battleground to watch out for as the ruling BJP tries to make headway in the state.
India's 7-phase Lok Sabha polls commence on Friday. The first phase of voting will commence on Friday, the 19th of April. Here we are in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, in the southern Indian state that's going to the polls as part of the first phase. This, in fact, is one state where the complete polling across 39 Lok Sabha constituencies in the state will be complete as far as India is concerned. More than 96 crore voters, or 10% of the global population, are eligible to vote. So here in Tamil Nadu alone, there are 950 candidates in the fray, and their fate will be decided by 6 6.23 crore voters. So here we are outside a booth where the VVPAT machines, the EVMs and all the related components are being unloaded from a vehicle. And we can show you around the polling booth as well, where there is a huge security arrangement also being made. Tamil Nadu police overall across the state, as per the Election Commission, they've been deployed in large numbers. At least 1 lakh police personnel deployed for ensuring the smooth conduct of the elections. As far as the trained personnel to conduct the elections and the voting process, there's more than 3.3 lakh personnel in Tamil Nadu alone, those who are deployed to ensure the smooth conduct of the elections. They've been trained in 3 phases, and all 3 phases of training are conducted for them to ensure that the election can be conducted in a smooth manner. In addition to this, there are 68,000 plus polling booths across Tamil Nadu. This is also a very crucial state for the elections because 39 Lok Sabha seats are from here. And as far as India's ruling BJP is concerned, in the south they have about 130 seats that are up for grabs, and they hope that they can get a good number this time. Generally, the BJP has not had a great showing in the south, but they hope that this time they will be able to capitalize on what they've done over the last 10 years and try to grow their tally in the south as well. From Chennai with video journalist Neeraj, Siddharth MP, WION World is One.
Let's focus now. The problems within the Tory party continues to make headlines. This time the party's whip has come under the scanner after an investigation was launched following claims that he has misused campaign funds. Reports allege that 52-year-old Mark Menzies has spent some $17,500 of campaign funds on medical costs. Reports accuse him of transferring the party funds to his personal bank account. Menzies has also asked another $8,105 from an aide to escape captors. Citing the situation as a matter of life and death, the MP, who is one of Rishi Sunak's trade envoys, is said to have called his 78-year-old former campaign manager at 3:15 a.m. in December. The amount demanded by Menzies was eventually paid by his office manager from her personal bank account. It is alleged that the money was subsequently reimbursed from funds raised from donors. Reports allege that there are other instances as well when Menzies used money from campaign funds to cover his personal expenses. The MP for Filde disputes the allegations as the Conservative Party looks into the claims. The report, citing a source close to the MP, says Menzies' former campaign manager had suggested him to use party funds to pay for his personal medical expenses, although she has denied the claim. Until the Conservative Party concludes its investigation, Menzies will sit as an independent MP rather than a Tory MP in the House of Commons chamber.
Mr. Speaker, we're already investing billions.
Now, correspondent Julia Chapman has more on this from London.
Well, questions are certainly being raised about how it took so long for Mark Menzies to have the whip removed when it transpires that these allegations actually surfaced a few months ago. They only made their way into the public forum today when the Times published these allegations that he has strenuously denied. But we do understand from the Times report that his former campaign manager brought her concerns to the Conservative Party several months ago after allegedly this incident whereby he called her in the middle of the night asking for money, saying that bad people were holding him locked in a flat and demanding money to be produced immediately. His former campaign manager allegedly refused, but a current employee did oblige by sending some of her personal money, it is alleged, which was then reimbursed from campaign funds.
Now, the results for Croatia elections is out. The ruling party has secured a mandate to remain in power. However, this time the Croatian Democratic Union secured a win on less seats, paving the way for talks to form a coalition government. According to preliminary results from 94.4% of polling stations counted, the HDZ won 60 seats in the 151-seat parliament, which is far lower than a clean majority. The election was seen as a popularity test for Prime Minister Andrej Plenković, whose party has dominated politics in the country since Croatia's independence in the year 1991.
But what is important is that the Croatian Democratic Union convincingly won the parliamentary elections for the third time. And it is even more important that starting tomorrow morning, we begin forming a new parliamentary majority in order to form a third government.
Meanwhile, the opposition coalition led by the Social Democratic Party comes in second with 42 seats, while the right-wing Homeland movement was set to take third place with 14.
These results are certainly not what we had hoped for, but also these results showed that two-thirds of Croatian citizens want change. Two-thirds of Croatian people are not satisfied with what is happening in Croatia, what they see in Croatia. And we will not let those two-thirds of the people down.
Now, the aftermath of an election, voters in Croatia had mixed reactions to the ruling party retaining power.
That there was a large turnout is great. The people have decided. If they want to have another 4 years of HDZ rule, it is what the people voted for. What will be interesting is those coalition deals following the elections. We will see, but I predict that the Homeland movement will go with the HDZ.
I expect it to be even worse. It certainly won't get better. I'm a pensioner. I receive a pension of 400 euros, and inflation has jumped 50%. And current Prime Minister Plenković adds 5 euros to me, and then he brags about it, and if there is anyone who feels good about it, let them. I thank God, have some reserves, so I withdraw money from those reserves, and those who feel good about it, let them go dig in their trash bins. Such likes voted the most.
Let's talk about Venezuela now. The country is going to polls this July. The incumbent government of Nicolas Maduro has come under the scanner for silencing his opposition. And the latest to take notice is the United States. The Joe Biden administration has imposed sanctions on its oil industry. The US government had suspended some sanctions after Maduro agreed to hold a free and fair vote. But in the last few weeks, all action have been against that promise. Key opposition leader Maria Corina Machado was banned from fighting elections. Machado then threw her weight behind an alternative candidate, an 80-year-old historian Corina Yoris. But soon after, Yoris was unable to register her nomination as the key opponent to incumbent Maduro.
They want abstention. The regime wants to impose abstention through fear, with candidacies that are not legitimate or do not have the support of Venezuela's society. They are the ones who want to cause division. We represent the unity, the union of the country.
President Nicolas Maduro hit back at the United States, saying that his country was not a gringo colony.
When did we become a gringo colony? A star of the United States. When? Can someone tell me about it? Venezuela is a country that walks with its own feet, its own head, it produces with its own hands. The new diversified productive model will stay on its growth path.
Meanwhile, the lack of opposition does not mean a smooth ride for the Venezuelan president. Maduro is seeking a third term in office and is determined not to yield an inch in his race to power. But his leaders are all hobbled up by corruption scandals. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta.
Defiant Netanyahu ignores West's restraint call. Yet again cornered, Bibi says Israel will make its own decisions. Israel ignores only sanctions but no retaliation plea. Iranian president warns of a massive response. Can Netanyahu get the attack calculation right? West Asia on the edge.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
This week on the West Asia Post, the decades-long Iran-Israel shadow war is out in the open. After the unprecedented aerial strike by Iran, all eyes are on how Israel will respond and what sanctions will its allies impose on Tehran. On another war front in the West Bank, cross-border exchanges are increasing between Israel and Hezbollah. Also on the show, there is flooding in the desert city of Dubai. All this and more. Catch the West Asia Post only on WION. World is One.